Hi, this is an introductory video on the project for that's called Where to Live. And I'm going to go through, this video is not going to be too long, and I'm just going to go through sort of an introductory about how to start setting up your spreadsheet. And then in later videos, we'll look at various parts of the spreadsheet and look at how you'll set up that. So if you look at the project description, it talks about sort of this scenario where you're considering if you're going to live in an apartment or buy a townhome or buy a house. And the case study gives you all the information you need in order to do that particular analysis of those three alternatives. So what I'm going to do is sort of show you how the information is arranged in the spreadsheet, in the case description. So if you look at the first one, it says, I mean, if you look at the description, and you can read this, I'm not going to read it to you, but it talks here about this option 1 is an apartment, and then it gives you some information about that. And then it says option 2 is a townhome right here, and it'll give you information about that. And then it says option 3 is a permanent residence or a house that's described here. Now there's some other information down here that says, like for instance, it says regardless if it's a townhome or a house, this information has to do with it. And this is also related to options 2 and 3 here. One of the things you'll need, which is for all the option, is that the income tax rate is 28%, and we'll look at how that's going to be worked through. This describes here, up here, it talks about the loan. So the percentage here is the percentage on the loan, the down payment percentage that you have to have, and it's a 30-year loan for as much as $400,000. But in the townhome, you don't have to borrow that much, and or either case. But there's a different amount you borrow with the townhome and the house. Now, it also tells here about other kinds of costs that you might be incurring. So this has to do with the $50 a month. If you own a home, you'll have that amount. This has to do with homeowners insurance, and this is for the townhome, and this is for the house. And then it tells you we're gonna sell the house in 20 years. So the analysis period is 20 years, and you'll need to figure out then the salvage value related to that sale. On that sale, what's called capital gains tax. So it's not the 28%, but it's a capital gains tax on this, and I'll show you how to calculate that. And then this hurdle rate is the interest rate that we've been talking about all along, having to do with what is the discount rate or what is the interest rate that you require on all of the properties. So that kind of gives you an overview of how this is described here. I will definitely go into more detail when I look at the spreadsheet. But I also want to look at what does this stuff mean. So I want a report that's kind of about this, and it doesn't have to be as extensive. It's really the spreadsheet I'm looking for. So this has to do with what you should include in the report. And this is a little bit of hints about how to set up the spreadsheet. So the way that this case study suggests that you set it up is looking at these three alternatives, which we just discussed. And then it actually says that you can put these all into tabs, and they actually even tell you what each of the column headings should be on each of the tabs. And I'm going to show you my spreadsheet in a minute so you can see what I'm talking about. So there's going to be one about apartment, and then there's going to be a couple spreadsheets related to both the townhome and the house that'll help you calculate the net present value. So if you look up here, it says that you're going to be using this net present worth value to look at which is the best alternative. So if you remember, in what we've been talking about before, is we define alternatives and then we choose an evaluation method. So that's exactly what's happening here. So I'm going to go ahead. I think that's all I'm going to do here. I'm going to show you my spreadsheet so you can get a kind of an overall idea of what they're talking about when they talk about this spreadsheet. Oops. That's not what I want to do. I want to go to the apartment. So I've set up the apartment one already, but and I will walk it through this in a different video. But in this video, I'm actually gonna get rid of this. I just got this somehow. I just did this and I don't want it there, so I'm gonna delete it. So I have all these tabs along here, one for the apartment, and then I actually have 3 for the townhome. One is a monthly mortgage calculation, one is this annual calculation, and the other is the cash flow. And I will show you those. And then I have the same 3 for the house, the monthly, the annual, and then the house cash flow. So looking at those things, that's really what we're going to look at. So the bottom line is, and I might have made mistakes in there, so don't trust my particular net present value number right now. It could change over time. But in this case, I have the house cash flow. The net present value is $615,000. The townhome cash flow is $565,000. And the apartment is $548,000. So if we look at those, the highest one is going to be this one, right? $615,000. So if we're evaluating this in a bigger picture, we actually would just say, oh, it's better to do the $615,000. Now I hope that gives you kind of an overall. If you could set up your spreadsheet, and these are the columns that are described in the in here where it says the columns for each of these spreadsheets. I went ahead and did all of that. So if you could set up your spreadsheet in that way, adding these tabs along the bottom, and the way you do that is just do a plus sign and it'll add a tab. And if you want to change the name on that tab, you just double click on it and then type in the name you want. So let's call it name. So you're going to go ahead and create the tabs associated with this. I'm going to delete that tab, and then label all of the columns, and then we'll go through. I'm going to first go through the apartment one to help you see how to set that up. So I hope that helps a little bit about the setup for the Where to Live project.